Why are we cutting off their genitals?
Because that's what they want to do, to live their life in a happier way, to match their body with their identity. I think their kid's going to go, hey, I'm trans just to be cool for you, Dad, just so that you can look more cool on the, telly.
That's exactly what kids would do. I do think they're mentally ill.
I think that's sad.
Well, they are sad.
No, it affirms they're happy.
Yeah. You would not be able to now go, gosh, what if I was wrong about all that all those years? What have I done?
Well, I'm a really nice person.
Welcome back to Rattlesnake TV, guys. In this video, we are going to be covering a debate between Andrew Gold on his podcast, which is linked below, and a trans-affirming doctor who is completely and utterly separated from reality. This one blows the mind. So with that, let's get into it.
But if you ask that person, I mean, we might find that easier to explain. So, you know, we go, okay, we're settled. We won't call him a woman, we'll call him a guy that's effeminate. And that guy who's effeminate will be like, thanks for that. Actually, I'm a woman. So it's all right. So it's like, whose label are we making it for? Is it for our comfort or the comfort of the person who is gender diverse?
I guess this argument about the comfort for the person. So I see that what you were saying about it was a time when there wasn't enough information about gender issues, which are real issues that we face. Even we might disagree what they actually are and what the root cause is, but it's a real issue and it's a real struggle for the people going through those things. And you were then in a position where you were able to help, and that must have given you a fantastic feeling. And we like to help, but you're also, I'm sure, and I'm sure you implement this in your life, familiar with the concept of sometimes being cruel to be kind, for example, right? Somebody comes in and says, who's anorexic, and they say, I'm so skinny. You go, sorry, they say, I'm so fat. And you go, no, you're not. Because if in the moment I want to help, it's a lovely thing. I want to help you and just agree with you. But in so doing, we're not necessarily helping. Because I'm hearing from you a lot of comfort. I want to give them comfort and make them feel better. And I'm not sure. Sometimes don't we have to just be honest with people and say, I'm sorry, well, I know you want to feel like a woman, but you are actually just an effeminate man.
Well, it boils back to, I mean, we could come back to that anorexia thing, if you like, because it's something that people bring up and it is interesting. But it comes back to, do we believe that gender incongruence exists or not? So that's the fundamental question. Is it possible that somebody was, and to use the kind of correct language, assigned male at birth, but actually identifies as female? So do we believe that or not? And I think that's the struggle at the moment.
What identifies, Yeah,
so do transgender people exist? Are they real? Can it be?
People who are, in my opinion, confused about their sex exist, absolutely. But I could identify as a table. Well,
a table's not an identity.
Why not?
A table is an inanimate object. It's
I could identify as black.
Well, you can't. Black is a colour. It's not an identity. It's a colour.
But I might have some black ancestry.
You may do, yeah, but you're not. You're white skin. So,
but sex is also not an identity. It's a
sex isn't. Sex is biological, chromosomal.
So again, I feel like we agree then. So sex is different to gender then. I mean, I would just say we don't need either words. I'm not, but if people want to say, okay, this is how this person feels and we're going to start using the word gender for that, because my understanding was we started using the word gender because people felt a bit funny about saying the word sex. They don't like saying that, so they use gender. So it's just a synonym for sex. Yeah. But okay, I'm willing to sort of go, let's use gender as someone's personality or their identity. That's how it's a totally different thing. Yeah. Why are we then changing their physical anatomy, which is their sex? Why are we performing operations that are long-lasting and potentially very damaging if it's just their identity and their gender?
Well, you see, we use those words like long-lasting and potentially damaging because that's our perception, because I'm presuming, I don't know, I've never asked you, but I presume you and I would never want to have our genitals changed. I don't, personally. No. And so it's easy for us to look on the outside and say, oh my goodness, that's very long-lasting and potentially very damaging. But the person who's asking to have that done doesn't see it like that at all. They're like, oh my goodness, please let this be long-lasting. And not damaging at all, life-saving, because, and I'm on this camp, if I had a willy, am I allowed to say that in here?
Willy, yes.
If I had a willy, I would absolutely hate it.
All right, so that was actually a good line of questioning and very, very reasonable questions there. If self-identity is purely something that is self-declaring, then why can't I identify as something outside of the usual categories? And she managed to escape the one about the table because that's an inanimate object. Sure, that one's easy to dismiss, but when it comes to racial identification, she loses that escape hatch.
I could identify as black.
Well, you can't. Black is a colour.
Suddenly, the conversation switches to genetics and ancestry and phenotype. Quote, you don't have a biological background for that. But then that raises the obvious question of, why doesn't that apply everywhere? If subjective feeling overrides biology in one domain, then why not the other? This is the inconsistency that he's obviously pointing out here. And when pressed, well, this category has two parts, the biological and the social. And people can identify with the social one even if the biological one doesn't match. But this distinction only appears after the contradiction becomes uncomfortable enough. And we know that this social category, gender, doesn't exist.
I took an estrogen shot yesterday, and I feel like a girl. I just feel like a girl, a woman. I feel like a girl.
So let's move on, guys. But before we get there, let me show you this story that I found on this topic from the sponsor of today's video, Ground News. Oklahoma University instructor on leave after failing Bible-based essay on gender. Oklahoma placed graduate instructor Mel Kurth on administrative leave whilst investigating Samantha Fulnecky's religious discrimination complaint after receiving 0 on an essay. The essay described multiple genders as demonic-based. And you can see here that there are over 100 sources covering this, with the majority of them leaning right for this one. And that's also demonstrated in the bias distribution just below. And this is the cool thing about Ground News. Once you sign up, you can see all of these stories that you probably wouldn't see otherwise, and you can see exactly how they are being reported across the spectrum. And not only is this an amazing product, but for Rattlesnake TV listeners, sign up today and you will get 40% off the Vantage plan, which is what I use. All you got to do is go to ground.news/rattlesnake. That is ground.news/rattlesnake. Links below at the top of the comments and in the bio, and start your Vantage plan today. Let's get back to the clips.
So to then make what I would consider to be drastic and draconian measures, such as life-altering surgery on young people, sometimes children it's happened on as well, teenagers, I should say. And that's only one side, of course, the other side being allowing then men as their sex, and you would agree as these are sex men, into women's spaces and toilets. These are huge, drastic decisions that we've made as a society based on something that you yourself say, we don't know. They're just nice things to think about. So that's why I'm concerned, because I just think you're obviously a nice person and you are helping these people, but you would not be able to now go, gosh, what if I was wrong about all that all those years? What have I done?
Well, I'm a really nice person, and I do like helping people. But the one person that we didn't hear in your last minute, we talked about draconian, we talked about drastic, and we talked about all of that, and we don't know. But we didn't hear from the person who does know, and that's the person who lives it every day. And that's why that's the person that we should be listening to and asking about it. I don't know what it's like to be trans. I know what I've heard a lot of people tell me it's like to be trans. And that's why we have to ask the person. What does it feel like in your body, in your soul?
But we don't do that with other medicine.
Of course we do.
Well, no, but not with discovering if they've got cancer, for example. Maybe once the symptoms start to show, but you don't go, what's inside your brain? Oh, I've got a tumour in the middle of my brain.
A really good doctor would sit down and say, the cancer is a physical thing in your brain. How is it for you, and living in this world, with maybe death approaching, living with that cancer? What's it like for you? What's it like for your family? How is your world going?
But they'd still have to do a scan.
Sure.
Because if they scanned and found nothing, and then the patient kept saying, I'm sorry, doctor, I know you can't see anything in there, but I'm telling you there's a tumour, the doctor would then be like, well, I'm sorry, mate, we've done the scans, there's nothing to show that. So that's the difficulty. I think I agree with you. We don't know. I'm not here to say we understand the human brain 100%. But let's go back to, you said you were going to clarify because the anorexic bit's thrown in, and I think that's similar to what we're talking about.
It comes up a lot, doesn't it? The thing is, right, so in the olden days, they used to, being gay was classified as a mental illness. Having syphilis, you were put away for having syphilis. And then not a little bit after that, we realised, hang on a minute, being gay is not a mental illness. And syphilis, you shouldn't lock someone up just because they've got syphilis, So we've made mistakes in life.
Yes.
A little bit later, we classified being transgender as a mental illness. And then in 2011, we were like, no, it's not a mental illness. It is part of somebody. It's their identity. It's who they are. So being transgender is most definitely not a mental illness, whereas having anorexia, which is an incredibly sad thing, is a mental illness, and that's the difference. So
But why? Why is one a mental illness and not the other?
Well, what is a mental illness? A mental illness is an illness of the, I don't know what the mental health, isn't it? Your mental health is not well and it's a risk to you.
Well, is there any better example than feeling, even if they're right to feel this way, than feeling like there is something wrong with your body when there isn't?
Well, you think there isn't.
But they think because they're mentally ill.
And no, they're not mentally ill. And I can't have that one. It's just so offensive to say that transgender people think there's something wrong with their body because they are mentally ill. It's just incredibly
I think it's offensive to say that there's something wrong with their body. What a thing to tell
it's
people.
Them.
It's either their body or their mind. Which one?
There's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with them.
Then why are we fixing it? Why are we cutting off their genitals?
Because that's what they want to do, to live their life in a happier way, to match their body with their identity.
I think even they should be saying, listen, I'm mentally ill. I want to get this changed to make me feel better.
I would really
Why is that
rather
offensive?
Not. It's very offensive because we have declassified. We made a mistake.
Would you call an anorexic person mentally ill? I don't think that's offensive.
They have a mentally. They do have a mental illness.
I would say to an anorexic person sitting here, I love you and support you as I would to a trans person. I think you have a mental illness right now.
Yeah, and you need help and support. And
I would say that to a trans person.
Well, I would find that very offensive.
I just want to clarify that I'm not intending to cause offence there, as I wouldn't to an anorexic person. I know you're taking it, and I appreciate that as well, but I'm just so you know that's not my intention.
Okay.
But I do think they're mentally ill.
I think that's sad.
I think it's sad. Well, they are sad.
No, affirmed they're happy.
So anorexia is actually pretty directly analogous to transgenderism. They're two dysphoric conditions in which the victim is fundamentally at odds with the reality of their experiences. The only real difference is that one thinks that they're fat and the other thinks that they are the opposite sex. This is a mental illness. They have gender dysphoria. It's in the DSM-5 and we know it's a thing. It's just an issue of definition. I know it makes her feel some sort of way, but I don't particularly care about that. And he's right when he points out that these are huge decisions and ones that we don't know the consequence of. And it isn't as if we've thrown ourselves down this path collectively because it's what society wants. Actually, this is deeply unpopular. And there is no data to suggest that these things are popular in any way. And if anything, the Trump election and the fact that this is something that he campaigned on in terms of having two biological sexes and saying that Trump is for everybody and Kamala is for they, them, that advertisement campaign, if anything, that shows how unpopular it really is.
Kamala's for they, them. President Trump is for you.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
And all of the gaslighting coming from them saying this is what the people want, it's just a smokescreen of dishonesty, but you wouldn't expect any less, I guess. Moving on.
I think it's a little bit like the anorexic issue. I think it's irrelevant, really. I mean, we do have to hear from them. You're right. We have to hear from them, say, how are you suffering? What's going on here? How can we speak to you? And I've spoken to countless detransitioners who said they wish that somebody had come to them and said, okay, we understand why you feel this way. Of course, you're not really a woman. So we're going to talk to you about why you're feeling that dysphoria, what's happened in your life to make you feel that way, and how we can keep you feeling as comfortable as possible even if you don't feel great. I mean, Richie Herron, do you know of Richie Herron? Richie Herron, and well, I feel like in your, in your world, you should know about Richie Herron because he's one of the most famous detransitioners.
Well, I looked at your board over there and I'm like, I recognise those people, but I don't know their names. It's just not
one of them's Blair White, who's a trans person.
Yeah, I know that. I did see her. I think I was on Piers Morgan with her.
So Blair is someone who knows that obviously he's not really a woman, and who says that it is, I believe he says it is a bit of a mental illness that he has.
I think her pronouns are she.
I think I said what, and he said he, but maybe I'd have to check. Sure. But either way, I would go with he because I think, to me, that's my belief, and it's a protected belief, isn't it? Gender critical beliefs.
Oh, protected by who?
That's what Maya Forstater helps to define. That's a protected belief in work environments.
If we pulled that up now, you'd see the judge at the bottom of that Maya Forstater case saying, "Excuse me, this is not a license for you to go out and misgender people," and that is in that judgment. So no, that case did not for 1 minute say that it was okay to use the wrong pronouns for somebody.
My understanding is it is a protected belief.
No, protected by who? By what? What do you mean?
Well, okay, even if we accept, I mean, look, we can accept that you and I, both well-meaning, I'd like to hope we can both believe that of one another, have utterly separate beliefs, firstly about how best to help trans people, and secondly about what pronoun is appropriate. So,
well, I'm like the pronoun that's appropriate is the pronoun that belongs to that person. There's only one person that gets to choose that.
Yeah.
And
So the pronoun,
person.
no, the pronoun for Blair White is he, him, because he's a guy.
Oh, well, I'm not talking about Blair. I'm talking about because and actually.
No, but Blair might say, I don't think Blair does, but Blair might say, I'm a she, her. I don't think Blair does, and I would say that's absolutely fine with you. But I know you're a guy.
Okay. Well, personally, and I speak for many, many people, I think that it's humanly respectful to use the pronouns that somebody chooses, not what you want to choose for them.
So for background here, I looked up this Maya Forrestater case. The case established that her belief that sex is an immutable characteristic is protected under the UK's Equality Act. In 2021, the Employment Appeal Tribunal ruled it is protected speech. A later tribunal found that she had been directly discriminated against by her employer and she was awarded compensation in 2023. So it's speech protected by the government. I mean, who else? She makes this argument like it actually gets her somewhere. And you could take this in many different directions to make it look stupid from any angle. But the best angle might actually just be force doctrine. In a country like the UK, where only good boys get government protection, and only the ones who don't make mean Facebook posts get government protection, and you must wear your mask.
So the grounds of the arrest are that from the 10th of March you made apparently a number of posts online and on social media.
And you can't have any guns, not even the police can have any guns.
It's right, he's right. Oh, what the fuck? What the fuck is that?
This is the institution doing the protecting. And I also obviously take issue with the claim that people are the only arbiters of their pronouns. This has never been the case. For millennia, there have been only two sets of pronouns. One for male, one for female. This was never confusing whatsoever. We don't need to try and reinvent reality, especially when that is not possible. Let's carry on.
Can you name a single randomized controlled trial in under 18s showing clear mental health benefit from blockers versus no blockers?
We don't need to name them individually, because what WPATH did in their Standards of Care version 8 is that they looked at every single paper that has ever been done, and they spent 2 years on it. They looked at every single research paper, and they had gender specialists, they had endocrinologists, psychiatrists, psychologists, pediatricians, and they analysed all the evidence, whether it's good quality evidence, poor quality evidence, and their finding was that gender affirming care does improve mental health and physical health.
Okay, because most of these surveys and things show that there hasn't been an improvement.
Yeah, but you see, the trouble is it's who's putting together the report, because it's very easy unfortunately in medicine to pick the ones that give you the answer that you want. It's very easy to do that, and that's why you need to have two things. You need to have a very big review, and it needs to be peer reviewed, and that means, for people who don't know, that it's not just these guys' opinion. It gets put over there to a separate load of people, and they have to approve it too. So you can find any paper to fit your story if you want it to.
But this is a problem. So it sounds like all you're going off is kids are telling you that they think they're born in the wrong body.
Or the WPATH with all the experts and all the evaluation of the research.
Before the
and
experts,
evidence.
yeah. But I quite like having some experts. I know there are fringes on the left and the right. You said before the experts, did you say? You trust the WPATH before the experts?
No, but the evidence is put before put in front of the.
Right.
But when I say before, not time-wise, I mean like put before the experts, and the experts evaluate it.
It's strongly contested, though. It's a big thing to do by pretty much everyone. I just said to you, NICE's evidence review.
NICE haven't done it. They didn't review gender affirming care. CAS did. I think that's
and it was used in
mean.
CAS. NICE's surveys were used in CAS.
NICE didn't have that. They did puberty blockers in 2020.
Right. Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
And found no statistical. So they did do it. So I'm just saying.
Shall I tell you why? It might be a bit technical for your listeners, but I'll tell you why. And
okay, don't go too long into it, though.
no, I'll give you 1 minute on it, right? So if you give a gender dysphoria, so if you have a transgender kid who is really struggling because their body doesn't match their identity, and you give them puberty blockers, okay, it stops them developing. But it doesn't actually help them develop the other way. So if you measure, and this is what NICE did, so they measured, okay, did the kids get better when you gave them puberty blockers? And it's like, no. But what they didn't go on to do was do the evaluation of the research is the next bit, which is when you give them hormones, so they start developing in the right way, and that's when the mental health improves.
Why do you, I mean, again, this is all disputed, isn't it? And as you said, it depends who's running the experiments.
Disputed by who?
Why do you think so many celebrities have got? I guess what people think is that this is a fashion, primarily. There's a small percentage of people who have what I believe is a mental illness. What you would say is they were just born in the wrong body, but mostly this is a fashion. Huge number of celebrities, as 15 years ago they were adopting children from Africa, today they've got trans kids. Like some of them have got like 2 or 3 that are all trans. Is there, does that concern you? There must be some social contagion element to it. That doesn't discount the theory, but does that concern you?
Well, I remember being at school and someone saying to me that that when being gay was just kind of becoming visible, someone said, I reckon there's going to be 1 in 10 people are gay, and we were all like, oh, no way, oh my God, that's amazing. And I think what we will see, if I'm alive in 20 years' time to see it, is that we're going to see the same kind of numbers.
Well, it's going down, though, those who are saying they're trans. It's rapidly, the last couple of years.
Brave enough to put your hand up in today's society and say, I'm transgender.
It went up with the fashion, especially with the celebrities, and the last 2 years, it's just shot down.
Yeah, because look at the bullying. And
the bullying was always there.
No. We agreed this at the beginning. The bullying has got a lot worse. But 1 in 10 people, at the moment, they're talking about nearly 1%. So that's 1 in 100. Now, how many celebrities are there? I think it's going to be closer to 1 in 10, 1 in 20.
But you must go. Some of these guys, there is a bit of a fashion.
Why would you? What fashion to do what? You think their kid's going to go, "Hey, I'm trans," just to be cool for you, Dad, just so that you can look more cool on the telly?
That's exactly what kids would do. Yeah.
No, I don't.
Kids are exactly like that. Every kid, it's not just that. They do all sorts of things. You see some like right-wing 5-year-old kid or a left-wing 5-year-old kid repeating stuff their parents say, about politics. And they go, oh, look how wonderful my kid is. They're just parroting stuff their parents say. It's the only way to get love from them. Others will go into showbiz because they think their parents will only love them if they, you agree with this, right? That is something. Kids are very malleable in that sense. They want to impress their parents.
I've never met a kid that's put being transgender on, like pretended to be trans. It's not a cool thing to be.
I think they've convinced themselves that they're trans because it's what their parents.
The parents or the kids.
The children have convinced themselves.
Well, all the children that I've met who are transgender, I've never met one who was convinced to do it by their parents or themselves.
I've seen loads of examples of that. I've seen all kinds of the sharenters, the parents who share online, all kinds of families online on Twitter, YouTube, whatever, and from day dot. You like a Barbie? We think you might be a bit of a girl, actually. And that going on for 5-10 years. We know how easy it is to manipulate children.
It doesn't work like that.
It does.
I don't know what you watch, but that's not what I watch.
Well, I'll show you it later.
So the data is anything but clear on these topics, and she's right when she says that you really can make a study say what you want it to.
It's very easy, unfortunately, in medicine to pick the ones that give you the answer that you want. It's very easy to do that.
By selective sampling, bad methodology, and affirmation bias, you can easily discover that which is not so. That is made so much worse when there's big money involved, and the people who want to fund transgender studies, trans groups, who most often want to show that gender-affirming care is good. So when she brings up WPATH, which literally stands for World Professional Association for Transgender Health,
WPATH with all the experts and all the evaluation of the research.
Before the experts.
You should know that this is a highly biased organization and often ignores evidence in favor of just transforming more kids. And if you don't believe me, you should look into the WPATH files. Evidence suggests the WPATH has suppressed internal research that contradicted its pro-affirmation policies and has been criticized for basing recommendations on the opinions of activist clinicians rather than rigorous appraisal or evidence. Internal documents also reveal the WPATH argued for the avoidance of phrases like insufficient evidence in favor of evidence-based to aid in legal battles. And the organization's guidelines have further been criticized for including conflicts of interests and methodological problems and a misapplication of available evidence.
Quote, it's out of their developmental range to understand the extent to which some of these medical interventions are impacting them. They'll say they understand, but then they'll say something else that makes you think, oh, they didn't really understand that, and they didn't really understand that they're going to have facial hair. So these are the doctors doing this stuff, admitting that the patients they're doing it to cannot really consent to it. Elsewhere in the files, there's a confession from a therapist that in 15 years, she's only turned down one patient for gender treatment. And that's only because that patient was in active psychosis and was hallucinating during their interview. There's also discussions about boys who began transitioning when they were 4 years old.
So yeah, I mean, not trustworthy in the slightest, and just with every incentive to try and cheat the system for more money. On to the next.
Sure. Well, look, we've looked mostly at that side of things from the trans person's perspective. With all of these issues, any kind of civil rights issue, typically, there are two sides, and one side we go, well, you know, even mad stuff like slavery, right? You know, there's the side of the slaves, and then there's the side of the slave owners, and they're going, well, we want to have slaves, and you go, well, you'd like that, but unfortunately that we've decided that's wrong and you're out. So there's always two sides, but we can decide, you know, this is a more complicated, in my opinion, one than slaves and slave owners. This is women who want to have space, women who want to be able to go to the toilet or whatever without worrying a man comes in. Many of those women might have been abused or violated in some such way. And many of them don't want men of their sex in their bathrooms. What do you say to those women?
Well, I think that's fine. Then we're okay because they're women, so they can go in the women's space. So there's nothing to worry about here. Women, if you make a space for women, all women are allowed.
But you said
Tall
the
ones,
sex is different.
Short ones. We're talking about women identities. If you make that, we're not talking about, well, if you want to put on the bathroom only penises allowed in here, then don't put male and female. Don't put skirt and trousers. Put penis or vagina.
But why do you think we do separate those two bathrooms?
Well, I don't think there's any need to at all, and many countries don't. It's just that the UK is so up its own, you know, that thing. That,
would you not? Do you don't think there's a bit of a patriarchy in the UK?
What
In the sense
what do you mean by that?
That men are quite dominant. I'm not suggesting all men, but men can
I
be
think
quite
women
dominant.
are scarily dominant, and
Actually, that's a fair point.
I think
Get rid of them.
When I look at with female-male relationships, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, those
When
women.
did we get to be so strong?
Bloody hell. They are awful. Good point. I take that back. However, that's a joke, people. Everyone's going to get upset with me. However, in terms of physical violence, and it's a fair point you make as well, there are a lot of couples where the woman is physically violent, of course, but by virtue of being much weaker than men, significant. Do you want to do an arm wrestle?
Well, no, I always lose when I do that.
Yes, I bet.
But if I've had a glass of wine, I win. But
by virtue of being significantly weaker, there's much less concern about how that might end up, and particularly less sexual violence from women to men than men to women. That is why we separate them. So it's about the sex. It's not about gender.
do you know what? I really worry about this, that we're continuing to portray men as sexual predators, people who are violent, people who are able to overcome the weak, feeble woman. A man who, just because he has a penis, might use it against a woman. I'm like, we need to leave that. Is that? I have one daughter. I have 4 sons and 1 daughter. I never brought my daughter up to be scared of men. I brought my daughter up to love men, to enjoy men, to enjoy relationships and boys and what have you.
Sure.
This perpetuating thing that men are scary. No, thank you. Let's leave that behind.
Well, it's a small number of men.
Yeah.
But even if it's 1% of men, if you put that in a population of, 35 million men in this country, or 30 million men, that's a hell of a lot of scary men. Even if
do you think
1%.
But do you think that is it their penis that makes that 1% scary? Is it their brain? Is it their physical size? Because I've seen some pretty, I haven't met any serial killers, but when you watch them on Netflix, they're not big. They're odd characters,
Yeah, they
you
are.
know.
But they can
And that's-
overpower any woman, and women do get
But they
attacked
don't
in
do it by
bathrooms.
overpowering, do they? They do it by wily stuff. That's what I've seen on the telly.
That's true.
But do you know what I mean? But I really, really think that we shouldn't be teaching our children of today to fear men. I don't fear men. I love men.
I like men, but I feel there is a percentage who will.
Of course, there's a percentage of everybody. There's a percentage of black people who commit crime. There's a percentage of men who commit crime. A percentage of women who commit crime. Percentage of women who are complete and utter nags for their husbands. It's me included. But sorry, Mike. But you know, that's just the way. But we shouldn't be portraying men as dangerous, and it's not right.
No, look, I agree with that. However, I also understand that a lot of women feel safer going into their own
A lot
bathrooms.
of women. No, there's just a few, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, I don't want that person in my toilet." And I'm like, "Well, go and find a different toilet then. Why should every single other trans woman or a woman that doesn't quite fit your picture be excluded just because you might be scared? If you want to go and find another toilet to pee in, go on then. But don't. Why should you?"
Yeah.
Exclude all those. I don't think that's
go
right.
find a women's toilet.
Go find it.
Oh wait, that's what they have done, and now there's blokes in them.
They're not blokes. Oh, let me just go back. If we accept
But you said that blokes, we shouldn't be scared of blokes
incongruence-
anyway. So forget the trans thing. You wouldn't
Yeah.
mind blokes just going into women's toilets.
Well, they wouldn't be a bloke going into a woman's toilet. I'm saying
Why
we
not?
don't segregate. Don't put woman on the. Why don't we take all the signs off the doors and say this one has a cubicle in it? So put a picture of a cubicle. This one has a seated toilet. This one has a squatting toilet. This one has a urinal. Let's say which toilet it is in there, and make sure the toilets are accessible for all.
Yeah.
But if you make a woman's space, you're going to have to say, in my book, when I'm Prime Minister, that all women are allowed in there. All women.
I agree completely.
What?
All women should be allowed into women's toilets.
Good. There we are.
I
then.
couldn't agree more.
Including trans women, tall women, short women,
Including
trans
tall women, short women,
trans women.
and men.
I don't think men should go in either. If you
No,
want
I agree
men-
then. Good. At least we're not talking past each other.
Okay, so this idea here that men are not scary, I'm a big, strong woman, whatever it is.
I don't fear men. I love men.
I like men.
Men are scary, but that doesn't mean you have to live your life terrified. And I mean, there are always going to be a small proportion of men who are predatory. And though it might not seem like the biggest deal if it is such a small proportion, if you think about it in the sense that the predators are always going to go where the prey is, then it causes huge problems for those types of environments. Because men are just factually stronger than women. So that small proportion of predatory men will be able to subdue just about all women. So all one of these men would need to be able to do is to walk into one of these bathrooms, and then it is a buffet for them. And because that is just the descriptive nature of the world, for that reason, we can't have men going into bathrooms where women are.
What are you doing?
Going to the bathroom.
Why are you in the girls' bathroom?
I'm a trans girl.
But you're not a girl.
Especially men who have serious mental issues. And these people are so dishonest. There are separate bathrooms for a reason. It's not because of people's gender expression, it's because there is male and female. Humans fall into these categories. So her equivocation here about women is just worthless. And if I was king tomorrow, I would change our bathroom standards. No more men's and women's. It shall henceforth be male bathrooms and female bathrooms. That ought to do the trick. So in closing, I mean, I am closer to the planet Saturn right now than this woman is to the truth. And how she became a doctor and managed to retain that license and that title is actually bemusing. She's honestly an indictment on the whole entire medical industry. And it shows us in 4K what we should imagine when we hear these trans activists talking about, well, doctors say. And we will never get any solid arguments from them. All we get is wordplays and lies and equivocation and feelings. You will never ever hear anything that actually justifies the truth of their claims because, spoiler alert, that's not possible. And as Charlie Kirk once said, 0 genders, 2 sexes, and infinite personalities. And he was 100% correct about that.
Infinite personalities, no genders, 2 sexes.
So anyways, looking forward to reading all of your comments below. Don't forget to smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Check out Ground News. That's all going to be just below there. And if you'd like to watch another video, right here. Till next time, I'm Jake. This is RattlesnakeTV, keeping you armed and dangerous.